All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling something pretty vital, um, courageous leadership. But, and here's the twist, we're looking at it through the lens of substance misuse prevention.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so we've got a mix of sources to dig into today. We've got, let me see, excerpts from a facilitated discussion guide, a leadership development journal. This one's really interesting. And then a summary of The Courage to Lead
Huh.
by Brian Stanfield.
Stanfield, his work is like so relevant here. He kind of pushes us beyond the whole traditional leadership thing, the whole giving orders from the top down. He's all about helping communities find their own solutions.
I like that. Fostering empowerment, not imposing solutions. And speaking of empowerment, this discussion guide we have, it starts off strong. It asks us to think back to a time when our own mindset, how we were feeling emotionally, actually affected like a group project or how a decision went down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a real invitation to kind of look inward. Have you ever had that? Like you weren't feeling your best and it just messed with the whole group dynamic.
Yeah. That's a really good question. And it actually connects perfectly with what Stanfield calls, what was it? Disciplined lucidity. Yeah. It's like recognizing how our reactions, even the ones we don't realize we're having, can totally shape a situation. He gives this example in his book, this community leader who was just like totally burned out,
Oh, yeah.
trying to push through it. But his exhaustion was actually making it harder for the group to, reach any kind of agreement. But once he saw that and like stepped back, things started moving forward again.
Makes sense. Sometimes taking a step back is the best way to lead.
Yeah.
Which leads us to, well, another big idea from the guide, this whole shift from authority to facilitation. It's like flipping the script on leadership.
Totally. It really challenges that whole expert model, right? Where someone comes in with all the answers. Instead, Stanfield is advocating for, he calls it a trans-establishment style. It's about like moving past those rigid hierarchies and creating a space for genuine collaboration, letting the community drive the solutions.
So it's more about asking the right questions than having all the answers. And I bet that's especially crucial in substance misuse prevention, where the community's voice is like essential.
Absolutely. It's recognizing that the community often holds the keys to the solution. And this discussion guide, it really emphasizes that with some seriously powerful questions. It asks things like, what are the barriers to actually co-creating prevention strategies? And how can we make sure every voice is heard, especially from groups that have been marginalized?
Yeah.
And what facilitation techniques can we use to actually shift those power dynamics and encourage genuine participation?
Those are some big questions for like anyone working in this field. It makes you realize that sometimes the way we've always done things, well, it might not be the most effective way to actually empower a community.
For sure. It's all about challenging those assumptions, right?
Mhm.
And being willing to step outside our comfort zones to like really create space for that authentic community engagement.
It's like a light bulb moment when you realize, wait, the answers are already within the community. It's our job to help them find those answers. But of course, it's not always that easy, right? I mean, the guide acknowledges that we're going to run into resistance in this work.
Oh, absolutely. That can be one of the toughest parts of leadership, especially when you're trying to, bring in new ideas or policies.
Think about it. Trying to get people on board with a new prevention program or facing pushback on a policy change. It can be so frustrating. But, Stanfield, he's got a really interesting take on this whole resistance thing. He actually wants us to see resistance not as like this roadblock, but as an invitation.
That's what he calls, wait for it, continual affirmation. It's that ability to, say yes to the tough realities and keep moving forward even when things get difficult. And sometimes that resistance is coming from a place of like genuine concern or maybe just a lack of understanding.
Right. So instead of just shutting down the conversation, it's more about understanding the deeper reasons behind the pushback. And the guide actually gives us some tools for that. It asks, like, what are the real concerns underneath this resistance? And what facilitation techniques can we use to actually shift from opposition to a place of understanding? And who else can we bring into this conversation to give us some fresh perspectives?
It's pretty fascinating how resistance, something we usually see as like a negative thing, can actually give us really valuable information.
Totally true. If we can just approach it with more curiosity instead of defensiveness, it can actually help us understand the community's needs on a much deeper level and, come up with way more effective solutions.
Yeah, it's like they say, right? The obstacle is the path. Sometimes those roadblocks can actually lead us to some pretty amazing breakthroughs if we're just willing to, learn from them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this guide really stresses that we need to be, well, proactive in turning those barriers into those breakthroughs. It's not enough to just like acknowledge the resistance. We have to actually engage with it.
Totally. It's a mindset shift, right? Going from how do we overcome this to what can we learn from this? How can we use this to be even more effective and inclusive?
I'm curious, what are some actual strategies we can use to make that shift happen?
Well, the guide talks about exploring different facilitation techniques. Like, one thing it suggests is creating a space where people really feel safe to express their concerns, even if those concerns are, totally against what we're proposing. Active listening is huge here. It's not just about hearing the words, it's about understanding the emotions, the needs behind what people are saying.
That reminds me of those times when, like, people are resisting a new policy, but then when you really dig deep, you realize their concerns are actually coming from a place of fear, like fear of losing something that's important to them, like their sense of community or their autonomy.
Exactly. And sometimes those underlying fears aren't even said out loud, right? We have to read between the lines, pay attention to body language, be really tuned in to the unspoken dynamics in the room.
Sometimes it's about getting those fresh perspectives, too. I noticed the guide even asks us to consider, like, who else could we bring into the conversation just to broaden those viewpoints?
Oh, that's so crucial. When we only listen to the same voices, the same perspectives, we risk missing out on some seriously valuable insights and potential solutions. By opening up that circle, inviting people who might have different experiences or opinions, well, that's often where we find that unexpected common ground and spark some really creative problem solving.
It's that whole collective wisdom thing, right? The more diverse those voices, the richer the tapestry of ideas.
Yeah.
But, I want to shift gears for a second to something that really stood out to me in this guide, this whole emphasis on taking action.
Yes. It's not enough to just talk about courageous leadership, right? We have to actually live it.
Exactly. Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
And this guide does a great job of encouraging that move from, passive learning to active implementation. One prompt I really like is thinking about today's discussion. What is one small but meaningful change you can make in how you facilitate or lead?
I love that they emphasize starting small.
Yeah.
It just feels less overwhelming than trying to change, like, everything at once.
But those small changes, those baby steps, they can create a ripple effect over time, leading to some really significant changes in how we approach leadership and facilitation.
And they have this cool idea, they call it rapid fire sharing, where everyone in the group, whether you're meeting in person or virtually, shares one concrete action step they're going to take.
Oh, can you imagine the energy in that room? It's like this collective brainstorming session where everyone's contributing to this wave of positive change.
It's pretty inspiring, right?
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest takeaway from this whole discussion guide is this idea that, leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about setting the stage for communities to find their own solutions.
That's such a powerful shift in perspective. It takes a certain humility, a willingness to step back and actually trust the wisdom and the resilience of the community.
And speaking of looking inward and connecting with our own wisdom, I want to bring in this Journal for Courage to Lead. It offers a more, I guess you could say, personal and reflective approach to leadership development.
It's all about aligning our inner world with our outer actions, which is especially important in a field like this, substance misuse prevention, where we're dealing with these really complex challenges and emotional situations.
There's this one prompt in the journal that I was really drawn to. It asks us to find a poem, a metaphor, or even a song that captures the essence of a tough situation we're facing. Have you ever tried anything like that?
Oh, it's such a powerful exercise. It can help us access this deeper understanding of the situation by tapping into our emotions and intuition. It's about moving past that purely analytical approach and letting ourselves connect with the situation on a gut level.
I remember working with this community coalition once, and they were just really struggling to find common ground on this, like, really controversial issue. We're all feeling kind of stuck and frustrated. So I brought in this poem about, well, a bridge being built across this huge divide. And it wasn't like a direct answer to our problem or anything, but it somehow shifted the energy in the room. It helped us connect on a more human level and remember why we were all there in the first place.
It's amazing how creative expression can unlock those new possibilities and insights, right? And this connects beautifully with Stanfield's whole exploration of meaning in everyday life.
Oh, tell me more about that.
He really emphasizes how important it is to help leaders connect to that deeper sense of purpose. Because that purpose, that's what fuels our passion, our resilience, our courage, especially when we face challenges. It's like finding that inner compass that keeps us grounded and guides us even when we don't know what's ahead.
It's that spark that keeps us going when things get tough. The reason we do this work in the first place.
Yeah.
But we can't forget about the practical side of things, right? That's where this book summary of The Courage to Lead comes in.
This summary is fantastic at boiling down Stanfield's key insights into, like, actionable steps, especially for those of us working in substance misuse prevention.
One takeaway that really resonated with me was the need to create spaces for honest and courageous conversations, especially around a topic like this, substance misuse, which can be, well, sensitive.
It's about fostering a culture of openness and, like, non-judgment, where people feel safe to share their experiences and perspectives without that fear of stigma or shame.
Which isn't always easy,
Right.
especially in communities where there's already a lot of stigma around substance use. But I've seen firsthand how transformative those conversations can be.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, so I was facilitating a community forum a while back, and this young woman, she was so brave. She shared her story of struggling with opioid addiction. And her vulnerability, it just created this ripple effect throughout the whole room. People started opening up, sharing their own experiences with addiction, either their own or through loved ones. It was raw, it was emotional, but it was also incredibly powerful.
That's exactly what Stanfield is talking about, right? Creating the spaces where that authentic dialogue can happen, where people feel seen and heard and understood.
And that ties into his idea of comprehensive perspective, that ability to hold multiple viewpoints, even if they're completely opposite, and still find that common ground.
It's realizing that every single person has their own unique story, their own perspective. And when we listen to those stories with open minds and hearts, well, that's how we start to bridge those divides and build a more compassionate and supportive community.
It's about moving past judgment and embracing empathy. And this book summary gives some really practical advice on how to do that. It talks about developing self-awareness, facilitating inclusive dialogue, building community ownership, and even embracing those challenges as opportunities to grow.
These are all key ingredients for courageous leadership in any field, really, but they're especially vital in substance misuse prevention where the stakes are, well, so high.
It's about recognizing that courageous leadership isn't some destination. It's an ongoing journey full of, twists and turns and unexpected challenges.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey. And like any journey, you hit those bumps in the road, those moments of doubt, the frustration, times when you're like, can I actually make a difference here?
It's so true. And in those moments, it's good to remember, we're not alone in this, right? We've got each other, our colleagues, the communities we work with. There are tons of resources out there, a whole network of support for anyone who's really committed to, courageous leadership in this field. And that support is so important. We don't have to have all the answers, but we can definitely lean on each other. Yeah, for support, for guidance, for inspiration. It actually brings me back to the discussion guide and that closing reflection. It really stuck with me. It said, courageous leadership in this kind of work, it means stepping outside our comfort zones. So thinking about everything we've talked about today, what's one small but meaningful change you can make in how you facilitate or lead?
It's such a powerful call to action, right? It reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference, even if it seems small.
Yeah, it's not about waiting for someone else to, step up or for the perfect moment. It's about taking that first step, even if it feels, a little scary.
And so often those little steps, those are the ones that lead to the biggest changes, right? It's that willingness to experiment, to try new things, and, even mess up along the way.
It's all about that growth mindset, right? Seeing those challenges not as setbacks, but as chances to learn and do things differently. So as we wrap up this deep dive on courageous leadership, I want to leave you with one last question to think about. It comes from that final takeaway in the guide. Think about this. What strengths, what experiences do you have that can help your community find its own solutions to substance misuse?
We each bring something unique to the table, right? Our skills, our talents, our life experiences, and sometimes those things that we think of as, weaknesses, those can actually become our biggest strengths.
It's about tapping into that inner wisdom and courage that, we all have inside, trusting that we can make a difference, even if we don't always have the answers.
So go out there, be courageous, be compassionate, be the change you want to see.
Because when we lead with courage, we empower others to do the same. And that's when we see real change happening.
And on that note, we'll leave you for today. Keep diving deep, keep exploring, keep leading with courage. We'll catch you next time.